So that tied a bow on the entire Ignition series. So in NA, why don't we hand out some awards? Just imagine us in bow ties and tuxedos, and now we're going to give out some awards here. We got 4 awards to give out, and actually, for many of these, spoiler alert, we actually agreed a lot. So there were definitely some easy choices. In some categories. Let's start with best tournament. We're just going to show you on screen what our selections were because, like I said, we did match up in a lot of these. But best tournament, I had the FaZe Clan Invitational. I think we all had them.
FaZe was the best games, and for storylines, and he had Coach Smith's debut, where Coach Smith kind of came. That was his like debut, like peaking at 60,000 viewers. You had the TSM versus Sentinels, just match of these two teams trash talking and just BMing them. Like this was like a 3-day straight of just them fighting and squabbling. It all culminated in like the perfect best of 5 final where they went all 5 matches. So in terms of just content, in terms of like game content and just rivalries and storylines and viewership, FaZe Clan was the best, and maybe even form as well. I will give Pop Flash the peg when it comes to production. They had the best production of any tournaments, but FaZe had so much more going for it. Just teams, more games, more storylines, more viewership overall. Like it has to go to FaZe.
Absolutely. And they and set the record, right, in the Ignition Series for top viewership, for peak viewership, including streams.
Yep, 180K plus, which
Amazing.
is by far the best. Like, so yeah, congratulations to FaZe. They did a really they had some invited teams, they had some qualifying teams. It was a tournament structure that made sense. It good double elimination bracket. They had great storylines. TSM Sentinels being the final, like just. Everything went right for FaZe Clan that tournament. It was just a really awesome tournament to watch.
And it also, according to us, I think, Jacob, you agree as well, had the best match of the Ignition Series. Yep. So why don't we just go right into that as well? Because the storyline that was the most spicy throughout this entire series really had one of its showpiece matchups, Jacob, in this grand final.
TSM versus Sentinels. That's the... Yeah, for me, I mean, it was like the epitome of rivalry. I think that, I mean, it's not like what we hope to see between T1 and 100 Thieves, where it just seems like match made perfect. This just developed because these players dislike each other. Like they're a bunch of trash talkers. They're like incredibly egotistical. I think a lot of people. This rivalry would not exist if Sinatra in particular is not as good as he is. I think that his skill, him being as good as he is, kind of made him put a target on his back for a lot of people. Same way it has for Tins, but Cloud9's been a little bit more inconsistent. Sentinels has been the better team, better than Cloud9. And so I think Sinatra arrogantly kind of walks around with a little bit of a target's back. And yeah, I mean, some of the CS guys, back to our point about tribalism era, like, some of the CS guys beat up this Overwatch, former Overwatch League MVP, and they want to show him who's boss, and he stuck it to him a few different times, including pretty recently. So yeah, this final was fantastic. The culmination of everything around social media felt great. Yeah. To me, like this was my favorite match of the Ignition for sure.
Agreed. I mean, you could say either the upper bracket final, which had the marathon match on Hayden where Sinatra tried to LeBron James his way to the victory of just on Sova, just grinding, had 30-plus kills, tried to grind his team to victory. They lost. Then the finals itself for TSM won again. You have the trash talk of Hayes saying he had to take these kids out to spank him a bit. You have, like, I just love the rivalry. I love it. I love how, Drone and Taylor saying Zoms can't read. I love how Zoms says, I want to fight these kids at the first LAN. Like, these guys are – the first Valorant LAN is going to be so much fun. And you think of Sentinels, TSM, 100 Thieves, and T1 with maybe the iBuy Power Crew rolling of T1 jerseys, and you see Steel with 100 Thieves hat on. Like, it's so – like, just – I hate COVID so much. It sucks so much. Like, the first NA LAN or the first international LAN can have all these teams together. It's gonna be a bloodbath. There's gonna be so much good. Gonna be so much beef. But
yeah.
But I think the thing that Drone and Taylor told us, even when they were trash Sentinels, is that they bring the best out of us. The one thing we hear good about them, the one thing that we can compliment them all is they're damn good, and they push them to be better. And that is something that you want in every great rivalry. You hate your rival, but they push you to be better. And that was the summarization of that final of the Flash Clan Division, which was the best Valorant match, bar none. Doesn't matter what region. That is the marquee match so far in Valorant.
And looking back on that, Sentinels, I mean, TSM had the map advantage.
Yep.
That's a whole other conversation we're not going to get to right now. But Sentinels won their matches pretty convincingly, 13-8 on Haven, 13-7 on Ascent. TSM labored over their victories, right? 13-11 on Split. Overtime need for Bind to secure the victory. Yes, they got the win, but that's where we really started to think, you know what? Sentinels might have something here. Like, this is where we truly believed it cemented the rivalry. And we're like, oh, man, okay, give me 100 more of these tomorrow, you know? It was great. Okay, let's move on to best team. I think that this one is unanimous, too.
That's easy.
I think it's easy to say Sentinels simply because of their dominance. Some people might claim recency bias, and I would only say agreed if TSM had a longer dominant streak. Like if T1 didn't have that initial top of the power rankings at like the very beginning, and if it was TSM instead, then you could argue the debate like first half, second half, but it definitely has to be Sentinels.
It comes down, it comes down. I mean, the thing it comes down to, if we're talking about best North American team to this point, you can bring up the other tournaments that TSM have played in, right? TSM has a lot of third-party tournaments they've won. The Pittsburgh Gauntlet Series, Pulse Invitationals, stuff like that. But if we're talking about just lone Ignition Series tournaments, the 4 grand, big major NA tournaments we've had so far, Sentinels have made 3 finals. They've won 2. They won the most recent. They dominated the most recent one. They blew out Envy in the final. They only dropped 1 map on their way of just destroying everyone in their path. Like, it has to be Sentinels. From 1 to 5, they are the most gifted team in North America when it comes from 1 to 5. It doesn't matter what game it is. You can either have Stick at top of the boards, Dapper at top of the boards. They have just firepower at every single position. And Zoms, I just want to give out to Zoms because Zoms was the weak link. I thought when we first started, Zoms looked like that player who was going to keep the turn. He was going to hold everyone back. He's Sinatra's best friend. He's this Apex kid. Bit of an ego on him a bit. Like, people were mad at him. Like, obviously Hayes was like, I don't respect this kid. Why does he have this personality when he's proven nothing in an actual tactical shooter? And Zom has grinded this game where Zom has gone from being a player that, at the beginning of the Sentinels run, kind of was holding the team back to now being, you can't have a championship team on Sentinels without Zoms. He is so good and he's so clutch. Like, I just want to give a shout out to Zoms because we know Sinatra and how great Sinatra is, and rightfully so. He is the ace of the team. He's the superstar player. But Zoms is the glue of the team, and he has improved so much just from the first Ignition Series now. It's light years ahead. He's also a player where he gets better every tournament, which has scared some of these people.
All this while preparing for a fight with Sabrosa. That's very impressive. Very, very impressive.
All the multitasking.
I was going to say, by the way, Tills is the first team to move into a town house also of all our teams.
There you go.
They all live not too far from me here in Austin.
Nice.
Zoms is already here because it's the original Sentinels Apex house, and he was part of the Sentinels Apex team. But Sick and Shazam moved here about a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, and Dapper had moved before that, and Sinatra moved and he left the Shock. So they're all here. They're all in a house. We'll see how that goes.
Very, very quick because we're running out of time here. This is the one category that we did differ on. Here's the board. Very quick, 1 sentence or less. Why did you pick this player and why? Jacob, let's start with you.
And I wanted to clarify because we did an Overwatch column this morning where we talked about like who we picked for MVPs. If you would have asked who the MVP was, I would say Tens because Tens contributes the most to his team out of everyone. Right? Like, he is the most valuable player to his team. I do not think Tens is the best player. I think that Sinatra is the best player from a skill perspective. But I think if compared to his teammates, Tens would be my MVP. So those are 2 different things for me. I would say MVP is Tens. Best player is Sinatra from a skill perspective.
Tyler? We both picked Tens.
But... Yeah, I agree with Jacob's sentiments. I would flip that. I would say Sinatra is the MVP of Sentinels by how he sets the tempo for the team. He sets the precedent for the team. His aggression and his ability to grab first blood is like no other right now. And when champions like on Phoenix, the way he can make teams feel so uncomfortable on Sova, where he's ulting at the start of rounds and just hitting blind shots. Like there's no other player like Sinatra right now where he knows how to get the maximum of all of his abilities. But with Tens, I just think he's flat out the best player. He just does things that no other player in Valorant can. Mixwell's up there. Sinatra's obviously up there. Wardell. But it doesn't matter if it's Judge, it doesn't matter if it's Rifle, it doesn't matter if it's Operator. The man does things that no one else can, where he can 1v5 around. There's been times where Cloud9 have looked very, very sluggish, where they're not doing anything, and it really has come down to tens to make some magic happen, and that's why I call him a magician, because he pulls rabbits out of his hat every single tournament he did with Cloud9. So he led average combat score in all 4 tournaments, and while ACS isn't everything, that's a dang fine honor to have, is that he led the ACS in all 4 tournaments, and that's why I went to tens.
There's a quote, and I'm butchering it, and I apologize. If you're good, you'll tell everybody. If you're great, they'll tell you. And if you ask anybody in the competitive scene, they will say that Tens is not only the best player out there, but even when he entry frags, it's impossible not to disallow him his first frag. He just, it's coming. The best you can do is contain him and go 1-for-1, which is a good round. And that's really the best thing you can say about 10 and how he played during the Ignition Series. That'll do it for us here. Good vibes, acts of kindness, everybody. We're going to go a little bit of a hiatus with this program, but we will be back when the next series. So we will still be covering news and Valorant and everything. So don't worry, the show is not going away permanently or anything, but definitely as we get towards the next series of events, you can definitely look forward to the show and continue coverage at espn.com/esports. So in the meantime, in between time, we'll see you next time.